Chris, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
iSpecimen is transforming biospecimen procurement. Tell us about your technology and your product offering.
So iSpecimen is a platform company, Dave. We set out about 10 years ago to set ourselves up as the preeminent Amazon-like platform company. And by Amazon-like, I mean a marketplace platform. So as a tech-enabled service, we have our platform that sits between the world of medical or life science research on one side and the world of healthcare providers on the other side, and connect those two sides to help the world of research gain access to patients, biospecimens or samples, and data sets that they need to drive R&D.
So give us an example of some of these data sets and actually how this actually works and the problem that you're solving in this space.
So the problem we solve is one that's been around for a long time, that mostly commercial researchers, but anybody really engaged in life science research, academic research, government research, but in our case, mostly commercial research, pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies, diagnostic companies have always needed access to the patients that are either the targets of the products they are trying to develop or the basis for the products they are trying to develop. And what we help these companies and researchers do is gain access to these patients in a much more efficient way than they've been able to do historically. And by gain access, I mean they need to identify, if they're working on lupus, for instance, for a new diagnostic test, they need to identify lupus patients across the globe so that they can get the consent of these patients to obtain samples, blood, plasma, serum, maybe tissue from these patients, and use that material at their bench to drive R&D forward. And something worth noting here, what's made this difficult is, one, it's always been hard to find the patients that you need because there's been no Amazon-like platform to date. But moreover, the data sets that you need information not only about the blood, plasma, or serum that you're collecting, you need information about the characteristics of that patient. And that's what iSpecimen does. We help the world find those patients, get those samples, and get the data sets that they need to describe the subjects they're working on.
Okay. You're addressing a $4 billion biospecimen market. How much of that market can your company capture over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I can tell you where we're aiming. We don't give projections as a newly public company, but I can tell you over the next 5 years, we are aiming for capturing at least 5% of this market and ideally closer to 10%. And we're confident that that's achievable. Given where we are the first and leading marketplace platform out there. And we're confident because the last 10 years have really been spent establishing ourselves and establishing this business model. And this model is ready to go. I've said on other calls with other individuals that this business model and this company is really spring-loaded for growth. And I think our recent growth trends are similar to what we're going to see going forward. So I'm hopeful that we're going to reach 5 to 10% market share over the next 5-year period.
Well, 2019, 2020, good year for you. Revenue up 90% to about, I believe, over 8 million. What was behind that growth?
So that was a challenging year. As you know, we went through a pandemic and were affected by that pandemic in both negative and positive ways. Our supply chain, our hospital suppliers and our healthcare providers were certainly impacted where they were not collecting for us at the regular pace due to their need to prepare for this COVID-19 pandemic that hit the country. But by balancing that out in our case was our ability to actually help the companies, the diagnostic companies and the therapeutics companies and academic researchers get access to COVID-19 infections, meaning help them find those patients that have the infection so that we could help those companies and researchers gain access to samples that they need to develop the diagnostics for COVID-19 that we now all enjoy. So while we were negatively impacted by a diminution in our ability to collect, we were positively impacted by what we do and our ability to help companies actually access this growing number of patients. And the net effect of that was us to being able to continue growth where we were projecting it, 90%.
And I thought I heard you say that this growth you experienced from 19 to 20 we could see a similar growth pattern here in 2021, correct?
Yes, we could see a similar pattern where, as I said, we're not giving projections, but with us looking at how much demand is out there for what we do, we're confident that we can address that demand, and that with the capital that we just raised in this initial public offering, deploying that capital to relieve what I call supply constraints in our model. We have a fairly large global supply network, but despite that, we are still supply constrained. So given the demand that exists out there in the market and our ability to now relieve supply constraints, I think we're going to be able to keep up similar growth rates. I obviously don't want to pinpoint any of them, but similar.
Well, let's talk about the capital raise. The IPO was done at $8. How much did you raise?
We raised just over $20 million when it was all said and done with the IPO, and that includes exercise of the over-allotment option by the underwriters.
Stock's trading below the IPO price, which is always a great time to pick up a stock like yours in rapid growth phase in a huge market. Tell us how you make money. What's the business model here?
So it's a marketplace business model. We are in the matchmaking business, if I had to give one word for it. We have a network of suppliers on one side of our platform and a large group of buying customers on the other side. And what we really help those customers do is gain access. We defragment an incredibly fragmented healthcare provider landscape and make that landscape not only consolidated through the contracts that we organize, but we make it searchable so that now the world of research can search a network of healthcare providers. And as we help those researchers find patient samples and data sets that they need, we then orchestrate the movement of those products, the samples and data sets, through iSpecimen into the hands of our customers. And for that, we have a take rate. We share the economics of that transaction with our customer back with our suppliers on a per sourced basis. And what we keep is our gross margin that then trickles down to net margins.
In 2020, you had about $77 million of inquiries for your specimens. How do you transform that into sales?
So that is the top of our sales funnel. Those inquiries that you just described, that's the dollar value of what was expressed to us by customers, what they're looking for. What they're looking for needs to be worked up, so to speak, that we work with our customers to understand what their needs are, and then we look across our supply chain to assess whether or not what they're looking for is obtainable by intersecting with the standard of care in medicine, or by approaching patients or subjects directly to gain their consent to get samples from them. So that workup results in companies getting quotes from us saying that what you're looking for is feasible with our platform and our network, and this is how we quote it. And then when those companies accept our quotes, they issue purchase orders, and we fulfill longitudinally against those purchase orders. So it really is a progression from inquiries to quotes to purchase orders, and as we fulfill, we then will close out those purchase orders once we have fulfilled the number of samples and data sets that are being requested. So it's a good indication at the top of our funnel. That number that you quoted is a good indication of the demand that's out there that's coming to iSpecimen, the demand for specimens to drive this world of precision medicine that we're now in.
Chris, in summary, what's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in your story today?
Well, those are two different questions to me. I'll answer your second one first. They should take an interest because marketplace platforms are proliferating across the globe, and we are in the lead position. Marketplaces like iSpecimen that obtain and keep a lead position ahead of other marketplace competitors tend to be winner take most, if not winner take all. And we can look across so many of them, from Amazon to care.com to the travel industry. We're in that position. So why investors should take interest is that we have successfully gotten the company into this lead position, and we are positioned for exponential growth as we harness network effects that grow us. Our essential value proposition, we really make the difficult buying experience easier. We defragment the world of healthcare so that life science researchers that have always and will always need access to patient samples and data can have a much easier go of it and find what they're looking for. I look back to how I used to go buy books or CDs before Amazon, and it's a very similar analogy that Amazon made it very easy for me to find what I was looking for and get it into my hands.
It's a great story. Big market, $4 billion market and growing. Chris, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Dave.